right, so I am here driving home on my commute. It's technically my third week in my new job, and I'm big on capitalizing time and using time effectively. So if I have some free time, might as well fill it with something to do. And if it's going to help you, it's going to help us all, because I'm not going to go crazy with the commute, and you're going to get some content around, top tips that I picked up on either during my day, whether it be recruiting, tactics that I've seen people do, whether it be colleagues or candidates that they're, pursuing my company personally, ways they're reaching out, ways that they are showcasing their own experiences, skills and background, and also just personal branding, because that is huge, as you know, when you're applying for all these jobs. How do you stand out? How do you create your own personal brand? And how do you do it in the fastest way possible? Because I've been there. I've been in a situation that, I was ready for the next step. I was ready for a new, fresh opportunity and new company. And so when you've got that kind of motivation, I know how it is. And I know how sometimes discouraging it can be when you're applying, you're going home, you're tired, you're going home at night, sitting in bed and applying to all of these new positions, and you're not getting feedback, or the positions are taking a lot longer, or you're interviewing with a couple places, but your ideal job's over there. So I've been there on both sides, being the applicant, applying to all these places, and then I've also been on the side of hiring people, whether it be now in my current role, so hiring internally for one company, but in my past life, my past experience, I was in an agency, so I have had a ton of experience being in that limbo state of putting yourself out there and just really ready for that next step in your career and moving forward. So that's a little bit of a synopsis of what I want to create with my commuter talks. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to call this, but I get so much out of podcasts and so much out of the articles I read. There's so much great content, and I feel like I have a unique, basically info that I can share with you from my experience, and it's needed. I want to help you take it to that next step in your career. So today I'm going to just talk about personal branding a little bit. I touched on it earlier and how important it is, but it is so important when you're putting yourself out there. When you think about it, okay, what exactly does personal branding come down to in today's market? Well, majority of the time it comes down to three things, right? So your application, your cover letter, and then your resume. And I see some common, I guess, not mistakes, but just, common things that keeps coming up over and over when I look at resumes that I think is important to share with you, so that when you are putting yourself out there, you're putting yourself in the best light and giving yourself the best chance at having someone follow up with you, get back to you, and then get that interview process going. So one of the first mistakes that I see when it comes to resumes specifically is that it's too general. Resumes need to be specific. So I'm not saying you need to alter your entire resume to each particular position. There was a time I did that when I first moved back from New Zealand in 2013, and I was applying frantically for all these different jobs, and I really, really wanted to get out of my parents' house. Great roommates, love them, but I was ready to move out, and in order to move out, I needed money, right? So I was applying everywhere. I was spending every waking minute applying and altering my resume, and I ended up having like 72 versions of my resume. And at the time, I didn't really know exactly, I thought, wow, I'm altering the resume. It looks great. I'm changing the objective line, to obtain a position in XYZ with using my XYZ skills. I was changing that line and not really changing much else. But I was also not in the hiring and recruiting and human resources space that I'm in now. So now looking back, the light bulb goes off as to why, which is why I want to share with you. So it's not just about changing your objective sentence. It really comes down to making sure that your resume has the key terms, statistics, and also facts of what you did at your current companies and previous companies. And I'm not saying this to be like, okay, it's the obvious, like, why'd you do that? No, I'm saying this because no one ever teaches you how to make a resume. So here I am putting my, hiring Superman cape on, Superwoman cape, and I want to help you with this. So outside of the objective, I mean, people can have objectives. It's honestly, it really doesn't matter. If you kept it an objective off, it really wouldn't matter. What it really comes down to is, having a section on your resume that has a skills portion, which has all of the programs that you've used throughout your career. The programs that you are proficient in, meaning you could, on the first day of work, if they open that program, you'd be able to open it, use it, maneuver around it, and just hit the ground running. Outside of the skills section, in the bullet points within your previous past work experience, you want to make sure that you list out utilized SolidWorks for 2D and 3D CAD designs with materials, stainless steel, write those out. Get super specific so that the hiring manager, the recruiter, the HR person, whoever's looking at your resume can do a quick scan, and rather than reading developed ways to design 2D and 3D designs utilizing my creative out-of-the-box thinking, right? That's not going to jump out as well as something like utilize SolidWorks for 2D and 3D designs with XYZ materials. So that way they have a clear picture of what you did, because let's be totally honest here. There are not as many hours in the day as we would have liked all the time. So to be completely honest, your resume isn't going to get the 10 minutes of reading through it that maybe you wish it could have. But that's why being short, concise, and really putting in those keywords of software tools or programs or certain standards, whether it be ISO or project management methods, whatever it is, get as specific as possible so that it's clear. Okay, I won't beat a dead horse. We got it. The other thing that I would suggest is just, forget the foo-foo, fancy, boxed words and all this stuff. Just make it easy to read, very simple and clean, because I've been on the other end of it for quite some time now, and it's, it is tiring reading through resumes. The frou-frou stuff, we're not going to, it's not going to come down to, well, this person had bubble wording and really, they use diamonds for their bullet points, so we should probably give this person an interview, right? Like, it's going to come down to three things. Can they do the job? Can they do the job? Do they want to do the job? And do they have the background that proves that they did it? So there's a big difference in applying for a job that you can hit the ground running doing and applying for a job that is your next career move. There needs to be some kind of bridge. So if you haven't done exactly what you're doing or what you're applying for now, and you have side projects, whatever, put a little section that, outside of skills, put a section that says projects, and it can be your own personal projects that you work with on the side, or code camps that you go to, or career development workshops that you attend, or meetups.com, whatever it is. Just show that you have an interest in where you're going next, so that if it doesn't jump out on the page that you have the exact skill set, they're going to see the effort that you're putting into around, I want to learn that next thing. And they're going to be able to read between the lines there and know that you have a passion for it. And I think that's really important, because a lot of the time, companies can train somebody on a certain skill set, right? They can train somebody on a technical aptitude or a process or a way of doing things proprietary to them. But what they cannot train is an internal motivation factor that you have to really learn and be eager to embark on that new form of technology or industry or whatever you're looking to get into. So that's just a quick overview of what I see in resumes. To recap, keep it clear, concise. All the designs and whimsical stuff. Leave that off. Really make sure that you list your skills in a tangible way. So not just talking about it in a high level, but specific to you. What were the exact program skills and measures that you had to take to do your job well and do it successfully? And the other thing with that is if you can list out what your performance measurements were based on or what you were required to do on a weekly basis, or if you can put it into numbers, right? Designed 50 SolidWorks creations and uploaded it into PLM software, right? Like if you can put a number to it, that will also paint a better picture for that hiring manager to understand that, okay, if they're doing 50 designs this week, we have a quota of 20. Chances are this person's going to come in and be a rock star and rock and roll. So it does take a little bit of extra time to go through and really think back to what those things are, but a really easy way to just kind of get your brain juices going around that stuff. If you have been in your current role for a while, you can always go back to the job description that you were hired for and just read some of the skills and requirements and some of the qualifications, right? Those are going to translate to what you're doing now. So that can definitely help. Make sure you spell check, of course. Make sure, you list any associations or even awards or whatever. Sometimes I've seen people get, more personal, a little bit more of their personality, and they'll list, clubs that they're in or interests or hobbies, whatever. I mean, that's completely up to you. But focusing on just the strategic way of, okay, how am I going to stand out goes back to what I was saying before. The other great thing about keeping it very specific is that all of these databases that you're applying into, whether it be Career Builder or LinkedIn or a lot of these applicant tracking systems within companies, they have a search device within all of these things where they specifically put in what's called a Boolean search, which is targeting certain skill sets, certain certificates or training programs, whatever. They can create custom ones of all kinds. They can get quite long and extensive. I personally love putting together Boolean searches, but if you don't have those skills listed or those programs or those softwares, you're not going to come up in that search. So that's another key reason as to why it's really important for you to take the time to write it all out and really go for it. So I hope this was helpful, and I had a great time on my first commuter chat. That flows well. Commuter chat with Coach Jessness. I don't know. We'll keep thinking about it. But if you liked this, please share it with your friends or family. And right now is the perfect time to be applying places. There are so many jobs out there looking for qualified, talented people like you. So give yourself the best shot. Reach out to me if you have any questions. You can find me on Twitter at Coach Jessness, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from you. And I'll talk to you more next time. Okay, bye.